In a Spanish city, world leaders gather for a major international summit, with the president arriving as the chief guest. But right in the middle of the event, an unexpected attack suddenly targets him, and what follows is a series of events that will completely blow your mind. How the president was attacked and who was behind it are questions you'll only get answered by watching the full story. We're talking about the 2008 high-octane action thriller Vantage Point, packed with explosive action and a maze-like, twisted timeline that makes it a must-watch. So without wasting time, let's jump in. At the start, we see the city of Salamanca, where under the leadership of US President Ashton, a massive anti-terrorism summit is being held at a large plaza complex, drawing thousands of people. And even before the conference begins, CNN journalists begin their live coverage, with Rex Brooks directing everything from the news desk and guiding multiple cameramen along with reporter Angie. And shortly after the summit begins, the president arrives at the plaza. Brooks tells his team to focus on him, and the president naturally begins his speech. But the moment he starts, chaos erupts right in front of the cameras. The president is suddenly shot twice in the chest, and seeing this live on camera leaves Rex Brooks and the rest of the journalists completely stunned. Right after he's hit, a massive explosion erupts near the plaza, and Brooks quickly regains composure, instructing his cameramen to capture the chaos while focusing back on the stage, as reporter Angie struggles but manages to report that the president has been shot. An emergency response has begun, also mentioning the earlier explosion. But before she can even finish, another powerful blast goes off, knocking her to the ground. And from the news desk, Brooks watches helplessly as she lies injured, unsure what to do, while several CNN cameramen lose their lives in the explosions. Meanwhile, before the conference began, the president's security was handled by the Secret Service team, including Thomas Barnes, who months earlier had taken a bullet while saving the president, and now back on duty, Barnes is actively involved in security, even riding in the president's car. And on the way to the stage, he notices a man slipping his hand inside his coat, briefly raising suspicion, but upon checking, it turns out to be nothing more than a cigarette pack. And once the president reaches the stage, everything proceeds normally. The mayor finishes his part and invites him to speak, but at the same time, Barnes quietly observes that several buildings around them appear unusually empty. From one of the nearby buildings, Thomas Barnes notices movement in a window, and when he alerts another agent, they check it out only to find it was just something shifting in the wind. But moments later, the real attack begins, as gunmen all from those same empty buildings open fire toward the president, throwing the entire area into chaos. At the same time, Barnes spots a man rushing toward the stage and immediately tackles him, pinning him down, while the man, Enrique, insists he's a police officer and the mayor's bodyguard trying to protect him. And although Barnes doesn't believe him, the other agents check his ID and decide to trust him, escorting him away from the scene, while the rest of the Secret Service rush to get the president to the hospital and others begin searching for the shooter. Meanwhile, Barnes tells his partner Kent Taylor that he saw a flash of light from a building ahead, prompting Taylor to head upstairs to investigate, while at the same time, Barnes quickly reviews footage from a cameraman, and in that video he spots something shocking that immediately makes him run forward. But just moments later, a massive explosion tears through the area, destroying everything in its path, the very same blast that was broadcast live on CNN. And although Barnes is thrown off by the impact, for a few moments all he can see is complete darkness. After recovering from the blast, Barnes looks around and sees massive destruction everywhere, with injured people crying out in pain, some already dead, and others even on fire, creating a horrifying scene. As he moves forward, he spots one of his fellow agents critically wounded and calls out for medical help. But by then it's already too late, and right after the explosion, he rushes into the CNN control area and tells them to pull up all the recorded footage of the incident. While on the other side, another agent begins chasing Enrique. And just as Barnes is reviewing the footage, Kent Taylor calls to inform him that he may have found the shooter. But Barnes isn't paying attention, because something in the footage catches his eye, making him frown in confusion, and suddenly he takes off running. Meanwhile, Enrique keeps fleeing through the streets, running through multiple buildings, and eventually manages to escape by jumping from the second floor of one house. And during his escape, he notices his girlfriend Veronica sitting in the front seat of an ambulance. And earlier, before the event, Enrique had asked Veronica to bring a bag with her, which she did, and no one at the checkpoint even bothered to check it since he was a police officer. But while bringing the bag, Enrique also saw Veronica talking to another man, which raises further suspicion. When Enrique approaches her and asks about the man, Veronica brushes it off, saying he's no one important, and Enrique hands her the bag he had asked her to bring. Once the event begins, he leaves her and returns to his duties. But suddenly, the president is shot, And in the chaos, Secret Service agents rush in, while Enrique notices that the bag has been left under the stage and instantly realizes that something suspicious might be inside it, especially since no one had properly checked him at the checkpoints because he was a police officer. And after connecting the dots, he starts to suspect there's a deeper link behind everything. Now the story shifts to another point of view, where Howard Lewis, an amateur filmmaker, is recording the international summit with his camera, and during filming, he meets a man named Sam. And shortly after, he also interacts with a young girl. And as the event begins, everything seems normal. But the moment the president is shot, Lewis keeps recording everything. And while reviewing that footage, Barnes suddenly notices something that freezes him in place. And at the same time, Enrique realizes that Veronica has set him up by using him to transport the bag. And when he finally understands that he unknowingly carried it without checking, it becomes clear that if he had opened it earlier, he would have discovered that there was a bomb inside. Anyway, as Barnes heads off to review the video footage, Enrique breaks free from the Secret Service agents and starts running, and the agents immediately chase after him. While on the other side, Howard Lewis, who had been recording everything, becomes desperate to find the little girl he met earlier after the explosion. And although he finds her, he can't locate her mother anywhere, so he leaves her with a police officer and goes back to filming, capturing Enrique's escape and the agents chasing him. But after running a long distance while filming, Lewis starts to lose his breath. Meanwhile, Enrique manages to reach a highway while trying to escape, and even though the agents keep pursuing him and try to stop him, he suddenly jumps onto a passing vehicle. But at that very moment, someone from ahead opens fire on him, shooting him multiple times and dropping him to the ground. And as Lewis records this entire scene, he suddenly notices the little girl wandering dangerously in the middle of the road searching for her mother. And seeing this, he rushes toward her because an ambulance is speeding straight in her direction. And whether he manages to save her at the last second is something we find out later. Meanwhile, at this point in the story, a shocking reveal comes up. As before the event, President Ashton was preparing to attend the summit with his Secret Service director when intelligence agents received confidential information that a terrorist group was planning to assassinate him. A few months earlier, U.S. intelligence had destroyed several terrorist hideouts and eliminated many of their members. And now, in retaliation, they had planned to assassinate the president. At first, President Ashton doesn't take the threat seriously, but later, under pressure from the Secret Service director, he agrees not to appear in person and instead sends a body double, which means the person who was shot on stage was actually a perfectly made-up lookalike, a twist that completely changes everything. However, the president isn't happy with this decision, so he secretly watches the summit from a nearby building, and from there he spots Thomas Barnes in the plaza and is surprised, since Barnes had taken a bullet for him months earlier and saved his life, and the president had not been pleased about Barnes being reassigned away from his immediate protection. Meanwhile, as the body double takes the stage and gets shot, the president and his team are shaken, and the Secret Service director immediately suggests launching an airstrike on the attacker's base in Morocco, whose location they had already identified. But the president refuses to approve it since Morocco is an ally, and even when one of the directors argues that since he is officially presumed dead, they could get authorization from the vice president, the president insists they announce that he is still alive and has only been injured and hospitalized. At that very moment, in the middle of the discussion, the massive explosion inside the plaza occurs, and even the building where the president is hiding shakes violently from the impact, prompting the directors to immediately try to evacuate him. But before they can do that, the president quickly calls his wife to reassure her that he's safe, and right then, a masked man storms in, kills all of his security personnel, and abducts him. After this, the story once again shifts into a flashback, revealing another shocking secret, where the man named Sam, who had been casually interacting with Howard Lewis, is actually the mastermind behind everything. Suarez, who is so calculated that he had already predicted the agency would send a body double instead of the real president, meaning there was already a leak inside the Secret Service. And to execute his plan, he had set up a remote-controlled device in a nearby building to create a distraction and draw Barnes's attention away. And taking advantage of that moment, Suarez uses a rifle to shoot the president's body double twice, while at the same time assigning the task of killing the real president to a man named Javier. And Enrique had earlier seen Javier talking to his girlfriend Veronica, which makes it clear that Veronica was also involved in the plot. And on top of that, Suarez had kidnapped Enrique's brother and used him as leverage to force him into cooperating with the plan. And for this operation, he had a main partner, the same person who was seen talking to him earlier, which Enrique had misunderstood at the time. Meanwhile, Suarez stays in constant communication through microphones and speakers, coordinating every move, and at the hotel where the president is staying, one of the security guards is secretly working with Suarez's team, handing over an access card that allows them to reach the president's room. And using that card, the attacker slowly makes his way inside, eliminating anyone he encounters along the path, eventually reaching the room and killing all the top directors, all of it seemingly driven by the motive of freeing his brother. However, at the same time, Suarez secretly orders that Enrique's brother be killed anyway, revealing that the real plan was to eliminate him after the job was done. And when Veronica hesitates and her hand trembles while trying to shoot, Suarez kills her himself. Meanwhile, the man who provided the access card had already been prepared for a suicide bombing as part of the plan, and right after Suarez enters the building, that man detonates himself, killing many people in what turns out to be the first explosion. On the other side, after Veronica throws the bomb-filled bag onto the stage, Suarez detonates it remotely and then escapes disguised as a medical worker, quickly getting into an ambulance to flee the scene. He had already taken control of the Secret Service command system using his own device, and through it, he calls agents and redirects some of them away, creating openings. And during this time, the attacker entering the building kills several Secret Service agents with a knife, and then shoots many others. And after reaching the president's room, he blows open the door with explosives and executes all the officials inside before kidnapping the president and moving him toward the elevator. Meanwhile, when Suarez, disguised as a medical worker, arrives at the scene in an ambulance, an agent calls him over to assist an injured person. And taking advantage of that moment, Veronica brings a stretcher up through the elevator, where Javier is already waiting with the president, and after placing him on the stretcher, they knock him unconscious and prepare to move him, as Javier points a gun at the president and demands his brother be released immediately. But Veronica threatens him back, saying if he does anything reckless, he will never see his brother again, and that once the mission is complete, his brother will be returned safely. And after hearing this, Javier backs off, allowing her to take the president downstairs, covering him with a cloth to make it look like a severely injured patient. And in a hurry, Suarez helps load him into the ambulance, pretending they are rushing him to the hospital. As the ambulance starts moving, both of them share a victorious smile, but midway, another partner joins them inside the vehicle. At this point, we finally get the answer to a major question. What did Barnes see on the CNN screen that shocked him so much? And the truth is, when Kent Taylor said he was going inside the building to check things out, he wasn't going to help at all, but instead went to retrieve the remote-controlled rifle set up by Suarez, which means Taylor himself was a key part of the conspiracy. And even though he changed into a police uniform to hide his identity, Barnes recognized him through the CNN footage, and that's why he rushed out immediately, while Taylor escaped by jumping into a passing vehicle, showing that both culprits already had a coordinated escape plan. However, after realizing the truth, Barnes quickly stops a car in the middle of the road, identifies himself, and takes control of it to chase them down. While on the other side, as Suarez is transporting the president in the ambulance, Enrique spots them, and Suarez, noticing him, says they can't afford to leave any loose ends. And when the man in the back asks who is being referred to, Veronica immediately kills him, revealing he was considered a liability. And at the same time, Barnes begins a high-speed pursuit, with both sides driving dangerously through traffic as the chase intensifies. When Taylor spots Barnes chasing him, he panics, realizing that once Barnes knows the truth, he won't back off. And what follows is one of the most intense chase sequences you'll ever see, as both of them start ramming each other's cars repeatedly, drifting hard at turns, spinning their vehicles in sharp angles, even pulling off full 360-degree turns while still in motion, making the entire sequence absolutely wild, and easily one of the best action scenes in the movie. And despite crashing into multiple cars along the way, neither of them slows down. But eventually, Barnes crashes hard into a large vehicle, flipping and wrecking his car completely. And at that moment, Taylor assumes Barnes is finished and drives ahead confidently. But suddenly, Enrique appears in front of him, forcing him to stop. And Taylor gets out, points a gun at him, and aggressively demands answers, clearly shaken, because Suarez had promised that Enrique's brother would be released after the job, which turns out to be a complete lie since his brother had already been killed. And when Enrique refuses to respond, Taylor shoots him multiple times, leaving him critically wounded, and even then, Enrique desperately asks about his brother, but Taylor claims he knows nothing. While miraculously, despite his car being completely wrecked, Barnes survives, quickly gets out, looks ahead, and as soon as he spots Taylor, he jumps back into action and starts the engine again to continue the pursuit. As Barnes closes in, Taylor fires at him and tries to get back into his car while still shooting behind him toward oncoming vehicles, And at the same time, Javier keeps desperately asking Taylor about his brother, but Taylor finally shoots him dead, turning him into nothing more than a pawn in the entire plan. However, Taylor's escape doesn't last long, as Barnes keeps firing at him, forcing him into a crash against a flyover, and then drags him out of the car in a half-dead state, demanding to know why he did all this. But Taylor coldly responds that even if Barnes tries, he won't be able to stop what's coming, and with that, he dies. Meanwhile, Suarez is still transporting the president in the ambulance, but the unconscious president suddenly regains consciousness, grabs a metal rod, and tries to fight back. And as Veronica struggles to control him, Suarez suddenly spots the young girl standing in the middle of the road searching for her mother. And just as the situation turns critical, it's revealed that Howard Lewis manages to save her at the last second in a heroic move. But in that same moment, Suarez, while trying to avoid hitting them, loses control of the steering, and the ambulance crashes violently, overturning dangerously on the road. Seeing the wreck, Barnes rushes in, opens the door, and first finds Veronica dead. But then he spots the president inside and is completely shocked, realizing he's still alive and the president even recognizes him. But at that moment, Suarez, lying injured nearby, makes one final attempt to shoot, only for Barnes to react quickly and take him down for good. After securing the area, Barnes confirms the president is safe and immediately contacts the rest of the Secret Service to arrange medical help and get him to the hospital. And within just a few months, he has now saved the president's life twice, earning his gratitude once again.